The Startup Cabin podcast is brought to you by Cedarwood. Cedarwood rents out senior CFOs to the tech industry from 1 to 5 days a week. For more, go to cedarwood.co.
Welcome to Startup Cabin podcast. I'm Xue Mei Rhodin, and I'm going to do a little holiday special for you today. First, I'm going to go through 3 tips on how to set boundaries for yourself and actually get a real holiday away from work. Second, I'm going to give you 3 tips on how to hack your planning for next year and get some quick and easy improvements in there so you don't have to worry that much about January. Something I've noticed around the startup community and also entrepreneurs in general is this old-fashioned way of thinking that, they have to be available 24/7 and also expect others to be online at work 24/7. And that breeds a very reactive attitude. They act like there's a fire somewhere constantly that needs to be put out. Actually, putting that kind of long-term stress on your brain is gonna put yourself in a continuously reactive mode, and that doesn't solve the long-term problems. It only solves problems that pops up. So that means that you're actually not putting any strategies in there to make a more sustainable kind of atmosphere in your company. Of course, if you have an online company, you have, uptime, especially if you're doing a game startup, your game has to be up there 24/7, but that's not the same thing as working 24/7. The problem with putting your brain in this reactive kind of mode is that you never give yourself time to step back. We need breaks so that we can reflect and make better decisions. So by always being on the job, you're actually being less effective in what you're doing, and you're actually going to get worse results. There is a reason why big entrepreneurs do, mindfulness weeks. They do kind of work away from work sessions where they only focus for a week on strategy. It's all about putting yourself out of your everyday life to get a new perspective. So I think you should take the tips from the pros and stop that kind of attitude. And I think around the holidays is a kind of a good place to start. You should have a holiday. It's actually part of getting your brain some time to breathe. So here's 3 kind of boundaries that I think is very useful that I use myself. And the first one is set a holiday deadline for yourself. Be very clear about when your holiday starts and when it's ending. And also be clear about communicating your deadline to everyone you are in contact with in December or the month before your holiday. So what I do is I finish all my emails and all my conversations I'm having during that month with, I'm going to be available until X amount, X and X, January, blah, blah, blah. After that, I will be on holiday until this date. So that means that during these times, I will not be available for phone calls or emails. If there's an emergency, please text me on this number. So you're very clear on what kind of communication you don't want during the holiday. Because otherwise, if you don't tell people to actually give you some room, they tend to believe that you still, work, especially if you're a startup entrepreneur or any other kind of entrepreneur. It's just a kind of way people see entrepreneurs. And what I do during, for example, for the holidays now is that I tell them, this is the deadline. This is the last Friday that I'm going to be available for email or scheduling anything. So if you want to schedule something with me, you have to do this before this date. Or this is when I start in January, and schedule your meetings with me right now. So I will have everything done for January. That means also I give myself more space in January to just ease into work, because most of my dates for meetings and workshops will already be set, which is really nice during the holidays to feel like half of January is already planned, so I don't have to even worry about that. The second one is to go through your emails and schedule them all to be delivered in January. I use Postbox for handling my email, and there's a small kind of add-on that you can put on Postbox that is called Send Later 3. And what it does, it gives you an extra kind of way to send emails, so you can schedule them to arrive on certain days, exactly like you do with newsletter kind of programs. So what I do is every email that I want, when I want people to schedule dates and meetings with me for January, I ask them to answer before the certain date. And everything else, I actually put down everything I want to say, and I put the email in my on hold box that's actually going to deliver them all on January the 5th. Which means that I know that everything is going to be done in January. I don't have to think about what I might not remember to do. I know during the holiday that actually all of that is already scheduled. And when I come back from my holiday in January, actually a lot of the responses are going to be there. So I can just go right into it. And it's really nice to end your holiday with having an inbox zero, an empty inbox. It's a really de-stressing moment for me. The third one is, if you're going to set some boundaries for yourself, don't only do that for the holiday, but actually for your work in general. And one of the best things I use is Rescue Time. Rescue Time is a startup. They're kind of like measuring apps for your computer. So what it does is it measures what I do on my computer, no matter if it's internet or apps or something native on my MacBook. What it does is I can decide what is work for me. So I work with Evernote, I use Skype, I use Google Hangout, I use Excel, etc. And then I tag everything traditional kind of work for me with the tags that this is work or this is highly effective time. And then things that I find distracting, that's not part of my job, I tag as very distracting or distracting. So this will actually literally keep a track on everything you do on your computer and give you a weekly report on how you are doing. So what I've seen is for example, I see exactly which is my most productive day. So those days I've done I've kind of rescheduled to be internal work only, because I get so much done on those days. And I can also see, for example, that I'm most effective on before noon. So it's better for me to wake up early and do all my work before noon, because I'm actually going to do more work in the time before noon than I'm going to do the whole 24 hours. Also, what you can do with Rescue Time, which I also love, is that you can actually tell the computer. So if you kind of zone out and start surfing somewhere on a funny site, it's actually going to tell you that, you have spent 10 minutes on distracting time. Do you want to go back to working? This is perfect for me because as I work with digital products, there's always things pulling my attention. And it's just a great way to help me stay focused. The smart thing, though, also is about limiting your work. So you can actually put in your kind of hours. I want to have X amount of hours per day of very productive time on my computer. And if I reach that goal, I want a notification. So you can actually tell yourself how much productive time you should have per day and keep your work effective and focused and limited. Because as an entrepreneur, there's everything has some kind of extra work you could do. There's a finishing touch here and there. You can always add more, but you shouldn't always. And since I started using Rescue Time, it's just made my work so much clearer. And I actually use this for my whole staff. And I don't use it to monitor them, but so they can monitor themselves. And they can put themselves values on what they consider to be distracting or a very productive time. And they can get feedback just to get to know themselves a little bit better. And just getting a feedback every week that gives you the hours you put in, you actually see how much work you're doing. And that can kind of relieve the idea that you feel like you're not doing enough. And the best part of it, as soon as you've just put in the different categories, you don't have to do anything. It just measures everything for you. So that's my 3 tips for getting some boundaries into your work life and also to get some real holidays in there. The second thing I wanted to talk to you about is putting up some simple and just focused goals for next year. I get so excited about New Year's Eve and the new year. I think a lot of entrepreneurs would probably agree with me. You kind of fold away the year that's gone by, you reflect on the ups and downs, and you kind of finish with a big celebration on New Year's Eve, and then you look forward, to the new year and new kind of challenges. It's just a nice kind of ending and beginning. And before that kind of sparkly energy goes away, it's smart to do some simple, focused goals for next year. The problem with goals is, and I do a lot of lectures on goals, and most people think that you should just do a long to-do list of all the goals you have in life. But the thing is, you should keep it to like 3 goals. You should be able to remember your goals like word by word, and you should just know it by heart. And if you put up too many goals, it's actually not going to be graspable for you. And another thing about goals is also you shouldn't plan for 12 months. A whole year is not optimal. You can't have a deadline that's 12 months away. You're not going to remember it. It's too big. It's too long of a life kind of time span for your brain to comprehend. So I should suggest that you should plan in quarters. 3-month month deadlines is the longest you should have. Of course, you should plan them all now in January and have them set for the year, but the deadlines itself should be very short and very focused and very clear. So no longer deadlines and goals than 3-month long projects. So I would just suggest to do this very visually. I put up a big paper in our office and I put post-its and use, big bright colored pens. So it's very clear for all the 4 quarters in the year, what's the goal for that quarter. And what you want to do is you want to share those goals with the company. You can't have a note somewhere in your phone that's tucked away and you never see it. That's not a goal. You have to be able to live with that goal and be reminded of it. And hopefully, if you have a bigger company, actually remind others this is the main goals for these quarters. So what I do is I put it up on a paper. I use Post-its and I divide the paper in 4 quarters. And for each quarter, I put down 3 goals. Only 3 goals. And they have to be measurable and very, very precise. The more measurable and precise and clear they are, the easier it's going to be actually for your brain to achieve it. So I would put 3 goals in these 3 sections. I would put for every quarter 1 goal for sales. Put a goal number of sales for that quarter. That can be amount of clients, it can be in actual money, it could be number of sales, but some kind of specific number and what you want to reach for each quarter. The second one is for marketing, branding, and PR. And here you want to set a goal for a marketing campaign, a PR strategy, brand awareness campaign. But what you want to do is, what's the purpose of the campaign? Not your ideas for campaigns or design. You want to put, what do I need to do in marketing to reach my sales goals? So very specific and result-oriented. A third part is, for example, what part of your business can you outsource? Is there a part of your business that's not working really well? It's not a smooth process. It doesn't work by itself and gives you a lot of headaches. Is that something that you can outsource to a service company instead? Typical things would be accounting, law, or sales, for example. So what you give yourself is maybe 1.5 hours. You put up 3 goals and very specific ones, one for sales, one for marketing, and one for leaner processes. And you put those 3 goals in each quarter of your planning. Then you have an overview, kind of a canvas of the main goals that you need to reach. Everything around your business should lead to better sales, better marketing, and better processes. And with that said, I hope you also actually take a real break and have some hot chocolate. It's the holidays. We got here in Stockholm finally some snow, which just feels amazing. And I'll talk to you in January. We have new exciting episodes lined up for you then. So take care and a happy new year.